Alright gents, how you doing? I thought I would just put together a sheet showing you what you need to do this lesson. Last lesson I was drawing in pencil. This lesson I'm going to be drawing with a biro, which you might want to have a go with. I think probably don't prefer it, but I quite like the line. You just got to be careful that you can get quite a dark line quite quickly with the biro, so just be careful how firmly you're touching the piece of paper. Further casing. Designs. And I'm gonna just put that in a little box. You can see I'm drawing on a book. I quite like this book just because it makes the surface nice and flat for me. And there we go. Although it's slightly awkward because, of course, I'm elevated from the drawing surface. All right, so let's kick off and let's start off. I'm looking for about 9 different designs on this. So I'm going to kick off, and of course I'm doing that times tabler, aren't I? So I'm just going to remind myself of that. Times, I suppose it'd be tabler, something like that. So my first design is going to be quite simple. Just going to draw myself that cube. Miss Crawford has gone through the sort of crating with you, the idea behind crating, and I'm going to drop probably something down like that, and you can see very quickly that I've got almost like a cash register, style cash registers. I saw something recently as well. I was going through some work, and there's a design movement called Memphis, and there was a lamp, and I'm going to nick the idea from that. So this is another idea of mine, and maybe the outputs could be on here. The Memphis design, lamp design, had bulbs all the way around there. Okay, now because I've got 2 sort of facing this way, I'm going to bring one back facing that way. I'm going to go more towards the corner for this one, and that one is going to be a bit more simple. I'm going to make it a lot more flared as it goes out. It can be quite hard to represent this sometimes. It can look just a bit like exaggerated perspective. Part of the reason for that is that should be of a similar height. Otherwise, there we go, that's better. You can see it's a bit smaller, that's absolutely fine. Okay, could put another one just in here, which is just going to be like a little sort of disc, and that can have a layout in the middle. Quite fancy just looking at that, maybe having something around the outside. So maybe they could be how well you've done these light up as you go round. Quite like that idea. That's my 4th one. That metronome shape is quite a cool shape. So I'm going to have a go at that as well. All right, boys, I'm back. Just been upstairs to sort the internet out, and I found this on the way up there, which is a samples postcard from a tiling company, I think. Quite liking some of these shapes on here. So I thought on the way down, I'll just pick this up, and maybe what we could do is look to incorporate some of those different shapes. So I'm going to just draw that sort of horseshoe shape. I'm just wondering whether that there could be incorporated some way as a design idea. A little bit careful here, just on that edge. Not bad, it's a bit of an odd shape, that one. And then I like this one as well. I'm just wondering whether, if there's a way, and I'm going to find this quite hard to represent actually, this little idea of mine, but if we had just a box like that, my idea was, is there a way that there could be, I suppose you could raise this part so that this face here was at a different angle to that face there. Is that possible? So if we're looking at that from the other way, it's going to be very hard to represent. Something like that. I'm not so happy with that. I'm going to keep it as an idea, but I'm finding it very hard to draw. But I'm going to develop that a bit more. What have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Anything else from here? I quite like the idea of, I'm just going to go over that one now with a stronger line. So you can see it doesn't matter if you've got something on there which is incorrect, go over it. That sort of shape. I think that'll probably do. And so now we can just go about thinking, right, what are we going to put on these shapes? I think what I'm going to need is some sort of speaker. And so the speaker here sort of makes sense, I think, to put in the middle. Something like that. And of course it needs to be some sort of display to tell you the number. So I would have thought there'll be a display up here that will tell you like 7 times 3, and there'd be 7 segments. And then I would have thought what you need to do is have some different numbers down the bottom. So I would have thought you need some sort of answers as well. So you can put your 7 segments in there. You know, sort of like 90, I don't know, 6 or something. What equals 96? 8 times 12. Oh, that's no good, is it? 10, 9. I don't think we can get 96 out of. But then you'd have another something along there. And you'd need buttons, I think. So every time you press that button, maybe it goes up by 1. Maybe that's the way it could happen. Okay, so what I'm doing with this, and I was talking about it last time, this thick, thin line technique. I'm going to go around the outside in a thicker line. And what that does, it just gives it a bit more presence. And you can see of all the images now on this page, this is by far looking the strongest. And it's because I'm just going around the outside of that. And then what I can do is just give it a little bit of shading from one side. And then what I would do as well, we've got this face and we can see the light is presently coming in from that direction. Yeah, because we've got a shadow there. So what you want to be doing is just knocking one of those faces out a little bit, neatly as you can, don't scribble, nice hatching. And then what we have, quite a strong little product. And we can even start to annotate it. Answers. Okay. I'm going to just put something in here. What there needs to be here, there needs to be a times, doesn't there? So that's what I'm going to look to sort of, I'm going to look on the next one. And I'm wondering on the next one whether in a similar way whether you could have the 7 segments up there and then the answer here. So maybe there's a couple of buttons on the top here. And then your answer, I think that needs to go down a bit more. Your answer's here. Something like that. And what we could put is a speaker. So if you get it right, it plays a tune. Just like before, I want to make the outside slightly darker. There we go, we can put the answer in here, so in here, 21, something like that. Could be an idea. What do we have? Let's just put a little bit of a shadow. It's quite nice if all the shadows go the same way on the page. So I'm just going to bang in that shadow and just impress that this is curved by banging down. All right, moving on to the next one. This is going to be a little bit difficult, and the reason for that is because I flared this, and naturally it looks like it's actually a cuboid. I wonder, could we have the 7 segments down here? And then maybe we could have like this times. So it could be, for example, 8 times 4. And then down there, we've got the 32. Maybe there's a button here, a button there. And where it meets the floor there, we've got to make sure that we keep that down. Right. I'm loving these. I'm going to make these slightly raised. Hear the washing machine. What is there of these? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Slightly too many. I'm just wondering whether these could relate to some sort of number system. Cheated a little bit around there. And so the times table, illuminated lights to do this, opposed to a 7-segment display. Could be possible, I think. then maybe in the middle here, we've got a couple of 7 segments with some buttons or something. Maybe, again, to make it look a bit better, just shading one of those sides. So far, it's looking all right, isn't it? I'm going to continue to do this. Maybe you could have them on different faces. Make sure you're following your lines when you're drawing. So the top of that should be following the top of that. Maybe the speaker could go at the top here, like that. And we can have maybe a button down there, which controls your answer. Something like that, maybe. Might be possible. Make sure all your lines are parallel, that's the main thing. That's looking alright. Maybe this could be a bit more of a journey going on here. So we could have a maybe 7. Maybe in the box here we could have like a right or a wrong. Could pop up, might be quite fun. A stereo. Nine times 8 equals 70. Let's say it's 74. And then that illuminates to show that it's incorrect. This side, of course, as well, if the light is coming in from this direction, that is going to be dark. So I'm going to bang that in as well. And then where it meets that tabletop, slightly. It's looking slightly weak at the top here because it's starting to disappear with its line. There we go. How are we looking? All right. I quite like this design, although it doesn't. Can't really see what it is. Maybe with this, you've got a couple. I don't know, sort of randomly placed around. Maybe this can be a question, and this can be, you can even have it up there, can you? Answer. Like 7. You right? maybe the speaker along the bottom. Outside. Okay, and finally put another one together. I quite fancy just going along here for this. Maybe we put a times symbol in there. Maybe this one we'll try and get right. 6 times 5 equals 30. And then maybe we have some sort of button system at the top, showing you that if you press 1, it's going to go up, and another one is going to go down, and then maybe just going to shade this in slightly, and then okay, so that's what I'm looking for you to produce. I hope, just gonna, before I put this in, I'm just gonna darken that down a little bit, and again, that thick thin line technique is really important. Alright, I'll get this off and hopefully you can have a look at this and see what you think. But I would be pleased if you sent me that, maybe a little bit more annotation, and maybe some of these just need a little bit more shading. All right, good.